Welcome back to Mixed Machines. On today's episode, we're working on my brother's 68 Suburban. It has a coolant leak, which I'll show you here real quick. So, see here in the top, right down there, our thermostat housing has eaten out a hole in itself. See right down there, it's got a little hole in it. You can squeeze the hose. So that's what we have to fix today. It's a very simple fix. It's just 2 bolts and a clamp. Very easy, very quick. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing you want to do if you're working on a coolant system is drain coolant out of it. But since we already have a leak and it's already down to that level, we shouldn't have any issues with that. So we're going to take the clamp off. And we have our assistant kitty that's scratching the shit out of the fender. As you can see, it's very eaten out. And what causes that is electrodialysis, I think it's called. I'm pronouncing it right. But so pretty much what it is when you have non-pure water and it has... Get out of there. Helper wants to help, but I don't want her helping on this because coolant is not good for kitties, or people that matter. As water runs throughout your system, it's hitting the aluminum and it's causing electrolysis between the parts, and it slowly eats it away, and you have minerals and stuff in the water for you're not using, as we don't use. I'm using garden hose water. Get out of here, damn cats. It's very difficult to work around animals because you just want to pet them all the time. Pet the kitty, pet the kitty, pet the kitty. So it starts to slowly eat out the metal, and as this is aluminum, it's a softer metal, it's going to start eating it out first. That's why they recommend you change your coolant every so often. When you do change your coolant, you always make sure you put down the recommended coolant that you put back into it, whether it's green, orange, red, your color coolant. And then you always want to make sure you put distilled water. Yes, distilled water in with your coolant. You don't want to use a garden hose water or this bottled water, purified water. Garden hose, they also have minerals and stuff in it, which expedites this process quickly. So it's always important. See, that's all this chunky, gross, nasty. You don't want that because that will plug up your thermostat. It'll cause issues, and it'll plug up your radiator and cause issues. It just causes issues, and you don't want issues. Then I take the thermostat housing off. See, all the chunky stuff. It's quite corroded. So it's like this was gasket and siliconed in for whatever reason. You can see it just completely ate out here on the bottom. So eventually it made a hole right there. So you can see there, ate it out. So you can see there's a hole right there. Right here, right there. So you see, so all this is all just floating around inside the cooling system, which isn't good. It's gonna be all nasty looking. Don't use silicone thermostats. Silicone comes apart and likes to plug up the thermostat. It's not too good looking in there either. Actually, it's okay. This just nasty. Definitely need a coolant flush. Flush it all out, but we're not going to worry about that today. We got assistant cat sitting at the top of the engine now. Now to clean up the surface, I use a razor blade to scrape off the gasket material. And then I like to use the little Brillo pads here. It's a fine cleaning one. And I just use the drill on it. Here's our new thermostat housing. Here's our old one. As you can see, it's got a little bit different, so I have to get a new bolt for it. Other than that, it should line up the same. What? Quit looking at me. You see, that's all eating out. That's where the hole is. That's all eating out on the inside. So we got to replace it with. This one sat there like this. This one's gonna sit there just like that. So good replacement, just had to get the longer bolt. So you get the thermostat housing back on. You put our radiator hose back on. Now when you put on an old hose clamp, or the old hose, you want to make sure you try and get the hose clamp back to exactly where the spot was where you took it off. So you see I lined it up there and then I tightened it up where it was at. And there we go. Thermostat changed. See, even the cool cats come and check it out. Alright, so now you just gotta fill it up with coolant and water. Run it, make sure all the bubbles and everything are run out of it, and make sure not that leaks. Like I said, you don't want to use garden hose water if you're working on your own project, especially if you have something nice or you're really built. You always want to make sure you use clean coolant and distilled water. Otherwise you're going to end up with the same exact problem we just fixed. But since we don't really expect this engine to run a whole lot longer, and I live in California where it barely ever gets freezing, running water, and then once you fill it with the proper coolant and distilled water to the correct level, you're all set to start it up. Everything's back together, water's topped off, so now we're going to start it, run it, and let it get it to operating temperature. Radiator also has a little leak in it. You see that I was opening up the cap and top it off the water. So after we ran it, make sure there's no leaks where we just fixed. Kind of make sure there's no more air, there's no air bubbles in the system. So I got up the temp and I made sure the thermostat opened. So the top hose here is hot. The touch. Let it run for a little bit more. And I shut it down, let it cool down for a second. And then I opened up the thermostat, or the radiator cap. You never want to open it when it's hot because they do hold pressure. You could blow the pressure off there and then you're spewing out boiling hot water. And with the coolant mixed in with there, it is a lot harder to get it off than just straight water, and you give yourself some really bad burns. So if you're ever opening up a hot or warm car, exercise caution when you open them up, because they are pressurized. So that's why I always have the rag when I opened it. So it gave me a little bit of protection just in case if it did. Get out of there, it's hot. It's hot in there, no. But that's a very simple job, just do, and replacing the thermostat housing while being surrounded by kittens, by little kitties. They want to be fed and petted. So thank you for watching, as always. I hope you enjoyed, and if you always be so kind to like, comment, subscribe, there's always more to come.